Hey there, it's Kathy House with Be Creative with Kathy, and in this video I'm going to show you how to put together October's card packet. Whoops, we don't need that on there no more. Okay, we're going to start with this blue card here. So everything from the blue card base on top comes out, and these three little I can't get them. There we go. These three little things, I'm going to set those aside so I can find them later. Hopefully they blend in with my desk very well. We're going to set this aside. Of course, that's the third card that I make for you, and we're going to make these two together for Stamp Club. And we're going to start with this one. Probably didn't make any sense, but that's what we're doing. Alrighty, we're going to start by cutting some paper. So I'm going to make sure I have my Night of Navy card base and my Designer Series paper at hand, because that's what we're going to cut the first. So bring in your paper trimmer. Now, let me show you the card right here. To make these two pieces here, or the card to have this kind of shape, we need to cut in from each side at 1 1/4 inches. So that's what we're going to do first. So I'm going to take my cardstock here. Now, this is scored at 4 1/4, so we just want to cut up. This is the 5 1/2 inch side here. We're going to set this over at 1 1/4, and I'm looking at these measurements here, and I'm going to cut from up here down to that score line. And like I said, this is 1 1/4 inches. I have to stand up so I can see this little notch right here gets to my score line. And then we're done. Okay, and I'm going to turn the paper over. I'm going to stand up again so I can see and not get my head in the camera maybe. Whoop. Trying to line up there with 1 1/4. And then again, I'm going to cut up to the score line. And there we go. So now I have a piece of paper that looks like this. Okay, now with our Designer Series paper, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut two at 1/2 inch. And these are just going to be for the inside. When you cut your Designer Series paper, if you don't want any decorations on the inside, you skip this part. But I want two at 1/2 inch. So 1 and 2 at 1/2 inch. And then I want two at 1 inch. So we're going to go 1 inch and then 1 inch. And then the last one here, it needs to be 2 3/4. And I hope I explained we need the 6 inch up here. So really they're 1 inch by 4 because it's 4 inches. So this right here is the scrap that you'll have left over. So let me just say one more time what size these are so that you know. You need a piece, and I'll show you, maybe a visual help too. So for the inside here, which also fits right here, this needs to be, oops, and it's going to go this way. Oh, I think it's going to go this way. 2 3/4. That fits perfect right there. You need two at 1 inch. Whoops, it's going to go this way. And another one this way. And all of these are 4 inches tall. The piece of Designer Series paper in your packet are 4 inches, well, really 4 inches by 6 inches. And that's how we're going to cut them down. 2 3/4, 1 and 1. And then this piece, this is a very vanilla, that's 5 1/4 by 4 is going to be your inside. We're going to put this here and here. Now, if you don't want to do that part, that's fine. Just don't cut those 1/2 inches right there. Okay, so let's go ahead, since we have our card here and those Designer Series paper, let's go ahead. We're going to fold on that score line, and I'm going to make sure that my corners are lined up here so that my card has a nice edge. And then I noticed my paper trimmer here made this a little bit rough. I'm going to just smooth it out with my bone folder and make it look nice too. Okay, let's cut or fold this one down so that my corner looks good. And then this one down in the center there. And then I'll run my bone folder along those edges to make them look nice and smooth. And there we have our card base. Okay, then we're going to take these little pieces here with just some tape runner and put those down on our card. So which way do I want my flies? It doesn't seem, no, I think for some reason I want it to go this way. So I'm going to lay my designer series paper right here with a nice border around. There we go. And then this piece. Now I'm going to put the other pattern so this, oops, so this shows on this side like this. And then let's do the other side. And really, I should have laid these down this way so I can get them so they're all straight across, but it looks like I did pretty good because now we want it to all look symmetrical. Is that the word? I don't know. I just want it to look straight and nice, and I think done. Okay, 2 more pieces in your packet is this strip of designer series paper here and this piece here. This is just going to layer right there on that Night of Navy. So it looks like that. And then this piece we're going to take, and we're going to lift this piece up, and we're going to attach these two right here at the edge. Now, I want to make sure that the adhesive is only down at this part. You don't want anything to stick back here. So I'm going to put a little bit where I think it's going to look good here. And I'm using a little bit stronger adhesive, but I think we talked about it today at our meeting that you really wouldn't have to have a stronger adhesive. No one's going to pull on this. But anyway, making sure that it's straight here, I'm going to set it down there. And then this way, now I know where this piece is going to be. I'm going to just put a little bit of adhesive here and then set that piece down, making sure that now it's all straight and it all looks good just like that. And then this piece, of course, will come over the top. I'm going to hit this with the bone folder one more time to get that to lay down nice and flat. Alrighty, we're just cooking with gas now. Now we want to put our ribbon on there. So this ribbon, I want it to be flat along, or like no gap here. And then I'm going to put, and has a gap here, because then we'll cover that with this little circle right here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead in the center of my ribbon, or close, put a little bit of adhesive. And then I'm going to lay that so it's about, let's go about there. So it looks about like it's in the center of the front of our piece here, and adhere that down. And then with just a little bit more adhesive here and here, I'm going to lay it down. Now we don't care if the front looks pretty, because like I said, that circle is going to cover this part up here, because it doesn't look very pretty now, but when we put that circle down, it won't be a problem. In fact, let's go ahead and put the circle down. Now, since I have the ribbon here, I'm going to put my dimensionals on my circle, and I'm going to make sure I put them at the top. Whoop, those were mini dimensionals. Let me find standard. Oop, we'll have to find another pack. This one's almost done. Anyway, I'm going to put my dimensionals at the top and at the bottom. Take those backs off, and then just lay this right here on the front of our card. I'm going to get it to where it's in the center. I think it's a little off. Fix that there. I like it there. I don't even know if I made a difference, but I like it there a little bit better. Okay, let's see what else. Okay, so now we need to do some stamping. There's a long strip of Very Vanilla in your card packet. This way you'll be able to play. You could stamp your truck. I'm not going to use this scratch paper. You could stamp your truck 3 times along here. Oh, and I do want that scratch paper. Beg your pardon. So that way you can play a little bit, because we want to get our truck so it looks like it has a little bit of rust on the bottom. So I watched a video. Her name was Fran Martin. She's a great demonstrator, and she gave me this tip. I'm going to give it to you, although there's probably several ways you could do this, but let's try it Fran's way and see what happens. So I'm going to ink up my truck. This is just black Memento ink, and I'm going to stamp him down here. Now, since we're playing, you might want to go ahead and stamp it 2 more times since you have it out and ready, and it'll be ready. I'm not going to play. I'm going to just do it the one time. Hopefully he'll turn out all right, and I'll be happy and I don't have to do it again. But like I said, I gave you a big piece of paper so you can practice, practice, practice. Then I'm going to ink up those little tires. Excuse me if I get my head in the camera, but I'm going to lean over here and line them up. And I usually look at the center of the tire, what I call those little hubcaps, to make sure that I get it where I want it. And I did pretty good. So yay. I'm going to put my black ink away. I'm going to bring in my Misty Moonlight. This is going to be the color of the truck. So with the solid stamp, I'm going to ink up that solid stamp and Misty Moonlight. I'm going to stamp off once. And then with my Cajun Craze and a dauber here, I'm going to just pick up some ink here, and I'm going to just ink a little bit around down here at the bottom. And then I'm going to go ahead and stamp my truck. Once again, I'll probably get my head in the camera. You have to excuse me. But there we go. And it looks like that. Now, I think that looks pretty good just as is. But to try to kind of blend that rust in and get that mixed up a little bit, or maybe a little bit darker, I'm going to stamp off a couple times. This way this just gets that ink that's a different color off of my stamp. I'm going to ink it up in that Misty Moonlight again. I'm going to stamp it off, and then I'm going to line it up again with that truck. And now, believe it or not, I think the truck is pretty easy to line up. And look, now you have that truck with just a little bit of rust at the bottom. So like I was saying, if you're not happy, you want more rust, well then try again, do it again, and put a little bit more of your Cajun Craze on there with your dauber and get the truck that you like. So that's another way you can play. Then you have a couple extra trucks. Next time you make a card, bada bing, bada boom, there's your truck all ready for you. Let's go ahead and punch him out. There we go. Now we have our truck ready. In fact, let's go ahead and just add him to our card. Then that way I won't lose any pieces. Now, when I put dimensionals on him, I have to be careful because I'm going to add, let me find some dimensionals here. My last one was almost empty. Oh, brand new. Here we go. When I add my dimensionals, I'm going to make sure that on the bed of the truck, it's pretty low. So I'm going to put it down here by the tire and then just two. That way, when I slip my fish in there, I'll have room to put my fish, really my fish head, into the back of my truck. So we're going to pop off those dimensional backs. And right here in my circle, kind of toward the center, I'm going to put my little truck right there. Okay, let's do a little bit more. Now in your package, you have a little banner like this. I believe your banner is already punched on both sides. And now as I look around, I'm worried. Nope, here's the punch right here. Let me show you how I did that. For some reason in my packets, I didn't punch the ends. Maybe because I wanted to show you this handy dandy little punch here. So this is about 1/4 of an inch, although I bet you it's more like a centimeter. When I cut little pieces of paper like this, a centimeter to me is so much easier to see on my trimmer. But I'm going to line it up so it's about in the center of that groove, push it all the way in, and then just punch that right there like that. Oop. And then let's do it again to the other side. Line it up as best I can here, make sure it's in the center. Check here to make sure it looks good and centered back there, which I'm not happy. And now I'm going to move it around after check it up. There I go, just like that. And then we have that little banner right there. Now, since yours is already notched and it's photopolymer, I believe you shouldn't have any trouble getting your stamp to line up and to be straight on there, or your stamped image, I should say. In fact, I'm going to turn it over. That side kind of felt a little rough. Using Night and Navy ink and this little stamp right here that says sending you sunshiny thoughts, we're going to just stamp that on this image. So once again, and I'm going to bring in my foam mat. Here it is. We don't need this paper to be easier to see without the scratch paper on there. And then we'll just take that and we'll stamp it right down. Excuse me if my head's in the camera. I washed my hair today so it's clean. Okay. Oh yeah, looky there. So now we have that. I'm going to set that aside. Sometimes those darker colors take just a second to dry. And then while we're doing that, letting that dry, I'm going to keep that Night and Navy ink out. I'm going to bring in this stamp set here, the go-to greetings, love this stamp set, this happy birthday, I'm going to stamp that on the inside here. So just to be careful or aware, I'm going to take and lay my paper. Oh, and I don't need the mat. This is a rubber stamp, a red rubber stamp. So I don't need the foam mat here or the Pierce mat or whatever the heck that thing's called. I'm going to lay this where I think it looks good and centered, lay this down, ink up my stamp, practice once on scratch paper, okay, and then I'm going to stamp my image right here. Happy birthday. Nice. Okay, now I think we're all done stamping. Now on this piece here, well, we have this piece, we might as well, no, I'm going to let that ink dry a little bit. We'll come back to that piece. I'm going to throw my designer series paper pieces. Oh, and now I've misplaced one already. Well, we might not have a fancy inside, but on this piece here, I gave you a piece of designer series paper so you could cut out several fish. You need to pick which fish you want on your card and then fussy cut them out. Now, so you don't have to watch me fussy cut. I cut almost all those fish out that's on that little piece of paper. So you get several fish. You just got to decide which two you want. I like the shape of this one, and this one's a little bit different shade of blue. Let's go with those two. But now I think that it needs a little bit of color. So on the next card, we're going to use Old Olive. In fact, I'm going to use, instead of Old Olive, I'm going to use Real Red. Make sure this is the light, this is the dark. A little bit of Real Red and a little bit of Pool Party. Like I said, these are two colors of Stampin' Blends that I'm going to use on the next card. But I'm going to use these just to put, and I'm going to use that brush tip because I'm going to be very light, just to put a little bit of color on my fish and maybe make him look something like a rainbow trout. I don't know anything about fish. Maybe these aren't kind of rainbow trouty kind of fish and they don't need extra color. But to make my card pop, I want extra little color on my fish. So just a little bit of, and I'm going to kind of blend that color in so it doesn't stick out too far. Just has a little bit extra on there. And you know what, this one, no, this one's going to have the green. I'm going to bring in that Old Olive and just put a little touch of green right there. So now my fish, I don't know, I think they look better with just a little bit of color. I can't get the lid on my marker. There we go. Okay, so those are the two that I want here. I'm going to turn them over here, and my little banner, where did my banner go? There it is. And I'm going to put mini dimensionals. See if I can find those on the back. I'm going to put just one little mini dimensional on their head, on the fish's head. And then I'm going to put 3 on my banner, and I'm going to stick to the inside of my banner. This is popped up, so I don't want any dimensionals on the edge here. I only want them here. So I'm going to make sure on my banner here, they're kind of toward the center and they won't go off the edge of my circle. Take those backs off the banner and lay that right down here. There we go. And take the backs from my fish heads and just tuck them under. Now remember, we put the dimensionals so they wouldn't, and here again I'm going to make sure that my dimensional doesn't fall off my circle too, so I pushed them down a little further. And then this little fish will go up here. I know it's big fish for a little truck, but it was a good day of fishing. And there you go, just like that. Let's go ahead, when I find the other one of these, which I know I will, I'll put it on the other side, but just for time's sake, I'm going to take my little scrap here and lay it on this side. Like I said, I'll put the other one when I find him. And then this on the inside of our card. So it looks like that. And then last but not least, we have these little gems here. Now these look to me, I call them brown, but believe it or not, they are clay. Darn it. What's the new clay color that we have? Oh well, it's a new in color. Nope, it's not going to come to me. So there we go. We don't get a no today. And I'm going to just scatter those on the front of my card, a little pressure to make sure they're stuck down good. So there you go. So there's our first card. Isn't that cute? I think it's a great card. It even looks good with only half of my decoration on the inside. Oh, here, I knew I'd find it. He had fallen on the ground. Let's put him on the other side real quick. And just set that right there. Now we have a really cute card. And this is called a spanner card. And there's lots of different ways to put it together. You'll have to look that up. I've also done one of these cards on my blog, becreativewithkathy.com, or on my YouTube channel. You can see more of them that way. Okay, enough chatter. Let's go to the second card. Take everything out of the bag now. I set this one aside. Make sure our little bling here, or whatever it's called, doesn't get lost. I'm going to set that. I'm first of all going to clean my stamp. The base of our truck in this card is going to be red, and we have him inked now in blue. So let me clean that. Everything else should be okay. And I'm going to just take my chamois and get him nice and clean. There we go. Alrighty, let's go to card number 2. So in card number 2, we have a green or old olive card base. Let me bring in the card so you can see what we're making. There we go. I have a mess over here. Out of camera, so now it's not a mess. Okay, so we have an old olive card base. We're going to just set that aside for now. And we have this piece of real red. We're going to set that aside for now. We have this little tag here. And if you want to see what I cut all my pieces and parts off, you can go to my blog, becreativewithkathy.com. The link will be in the description. Or I'll tell you now, it's this smallest one of these countryside corner dies. So this die cut right there works perfect for that, wishing you a festive Christmas. And since we have that piece ready right now, let's go ahead and stamp him. I'm going to use black memento ink. I'm going to tell you too that I struggle, and I usually get my wishing you a little bit darker than I want. So I'm going to be careful this time when I ink him up good. Make sure there's lots of ink on your ink pad. And when I set him on my paper, I'm going to apply as little pressure as I can. So I'm going to set it down here. Just set it onto my paper. Oh, I hope it didn't move. Just barely touch it. And let's see if this looks better. Yes, looky there. I like that so much better. Now it has, I think, evenly applied ink. There you go. There's a tip. If you have a heavy hand, apply it less, or make sure you have an inky or a juicy ink pad and less pressure on your ink, on your stamp. There, I got it out. I didn't think I was going to get it out. Now with that truck again, I'm going to stamp him not once, but I'm going to stamp him twice. There we go. I'm going to put those tires on there again. Now, if you have trouble lining up your tires, it's just as easy to color them. So go ahead and take a second to color them. I've practiced enough times. I'm getting pretty good at the tires, and it doesn't bother me to use the stamp. So I'm going, probably got my head in the camera, I apologize. But there you go. So now I have my tires. I think we're all done. No, we're going to have to use the black ink again, my bad. And then I'm going to bring in some real red ink, and I'm going to stamp the inside or the solid image of my truck. Now, I have a tendency with my red ink to push too hard and to fill in my window, so I'm going to just make sure. Nope, look, I didn't fill in my window. I would have been just fine. But my poor stamp set is so used and so stained, it's hard to see if I have the window inked up or not. So I'm going to just take and set that, let that ink sink in. I'm not applying a lot of pressure because my ink pad is nice and juicy. So I'm going to go here again and stamp that one down. Boom. Nice. Now, since I have a background on this card of that pool party. We'll move that, of that pool party. I'm going to go ahead and color one of my truck windows with just a little pool party stamp and blend. And that way it'll look like the background is coming through my truck. Okay, now we're going to punch both those trucks out. Ooh, let me tell you first though, on my card, I stamped on the paper in the back. If you want your presents and your tree to stand up a little bit, I guess you could also stamp them here and here, although I'd wait till after you punch to make sure you don't. Well, I'll show you. Let me show you. Let me punch this out. Got ahead of myself, I guess, a little bit. But I'm going to punch out my trucks. There we go. You could also now take and stamp your little tree right here. You could stamp your presents right here. And you could fussy cut those and put them on your card rather than stamp it direct on the cardstock like I'm going to do. So now I have my two pieces, or my two trucks. Well, time to trim those down. So with my paper snips here, now I hope you can see, this is the truck with the colored windows, so I want him to be my full truck. I'm going to leave him aside, but this one is going to be my trailer. So right where this door, the door is right here, I'm going to just cut him in half. I guess it's half right there. Now this part we don't need, I'll set that aside. Maybe I need a half a truck for another project. And then you look at the truck right here, it has this little white line, and then right above it, I'm going to just trim there, and then I'm going to cut down on that other little black line. I hope you saw it, to that cut, and then look, let's get rid of this right here. And now we have a little trailer just like that. Isn't that cute? Love it. Okay. Now we're going to set those aside. We're going to need those in just a minute. So I have my my greeting and my truck and my trailer, and I'm going to bring in that smaller piece of basic white. This is the one that layers nicely with just an itty bitty border on that red. We're going to stamp on that piece next. Okay, so I want to make sure, first of all, for placement, I'm going to lay my greeting where I want it. And you know what? Yeah, we need to have my foam mat, and we're going to stamp. Okay, sorry, had the squirrel moment. Okay, I'm going to lay my truck where I think he looks good, and my little trailer next to it, so it's going to look about like that. Now I want to stamp those two images, the presents and the little tree, and I'm going to use, let me find it here, some Old Olive ink. I'm going to start with the outline of the tree. In your stamp set, it looks like, drum roll, it looks like this. So I'm going to stamp this first, and then I'm going to fill it in with that one in Old Olive. So here's my little outline tree, making sure that it goes like this. So see, this is where it's going to go in the trailer this way, and then that's the top of the tree sticking up. So I'm going to just guess. I think my truck looked good there. So I'm going to probably get my head in the camera again, but I'm going to just stamp that down right there where it should go in the trailer. Yeah? Okay, and then that second, or to fill that in, I'm going to bring that piece in. I'm going to hover around until I see it. And I want to make sure it's nice and dark because we plan on putting some pool party sky behind it. So there we go. Let that ink sink in. And I did both of them in full strength. Now you probably can't see the outline as well as you could if you stamped off, but like I said, I want my tree nice and dark, so when I put the pool party in the back, it won't mess up my tree or won't change things with my tree. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Then we're going to bring in some Memento black ink, and we're going to stamp those packages in the same way. Now, let me make sure my truck is going across straight. I don't want to look like he's going uphill. And those little presents in black ink, and I'm going to just stamp those down right there. Okay, now we're going to use some real red ink here to fill in those little presents. Where did my red ink go? Oh, here he is. They have a stamp that fills those in. We lean in here and go right over, and I think it fills them in very nicely. Look how cute that is. Alrighty. Now I'm going to take my Stampin' Blends, and I'm going to use a light. Maybe I'm going to use light. Let me check that out too. I think I want to use a dark. Let's see how dark. Yep. Nope, I want to use the dark. I'm going to use the dark. Yeah. Your Stampin' Blends, I'm going to color in those presents. And I missed a little bit with my red, but I think if I fill it in with this green marker, no one will know the difference. There we go. And then while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and fill in these little white spaces behind my tree that I think is supposed to be like a snow kind of, but I don't want that pool party ink to show behind there. So I'm going to go ahead and just fill those little places in with my Stampin' Blends on the tree. Okay, so the good thing about this is now I know, oh no, one more thing we have to stamp, and then I'll know if I set this here and I set this here, and I'm going to bring in some crumb cake ink. I'm going to stamp down my little road there, and I'm going to put my scratch paper back behind my paper because it'll probably go off the edge. We don't need that on there anymore. So I'm figuring out where I want my truck. My truck's going to look about like there. Yeah. So let's go ahead and stamp our road. Now I'm going to take my road, move my truck a little bit, and stamp it there. Now I'm going to make sure that my road, or this little stamp, goes straight across. And see how it has like a little gap there? I'm going to turn my stamp over and fill in that gap with the other part of my stamp. And then turn it over again and do the same thing. Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to disguise it with a little bit of sponging or a little bit of blending with the blending brushes. Okay, and I think I'm going to go even one more. I think I'm going to go one more like this across the bottom and make that road, yeah, fill in a little bit. There we go. I think I'm happy with it just like that. Now, with that same crumb cake ink, let me move everything away. I don't want it to get ink on it, just in case. I'm going to get my blending brush, ink it up pretty good, start off the paper, and then just ink that spot there. Now, on my card, so it looks like my truck is kicking up a little dirt, as Raina said in club today. I'm going to make sure that I get a little bit of a dirt up here in this corner, because my truck's going down this dirt road, and of course it's going to get dusty. So I'm going to make it look like that. In fact, I'm going to go just a little bit higher than what I call the dirt road. So now it looks like that. Okay, and then with some pool party ink, and that's why we colored the truck window pool party. We're going to take another blending brush, and I'm going to do the whole top here. Now, since we colored our presents and our tree in those dark vibrant colors, we can put a little bit of light color behind them and it won't mess anything up. So just a little bit of pool party. Now I want to warn you too that when you're doing blending brushes like this, it might not look like you have a lot of ink on your paper, but watch, when you take that paper and you put it onto a piece of stark white, you can see that it does have that color on it. I'm going to put just a little bit more. I think my pool party might need to be re-inked a little bit, but I'm going to make it work. Put a little bit more ink. Sometimes I like to turn it this way because maybe I'm heavy-handed coming that way. That makes sense, coming this way. I don't know. But there we go. Just a little bit of pool party on there to set the scene. Ooh, that was a good way to put it. Okay, I think we're all done stamping. Let's put our card together. So I'm going to put some adhesive on the back of this, just some plain old tape runner. And then remember that I said that this real red has a itty bitty border. So I'm going to make sure when I put it on there, it's got the border all the way around the edge. That's very small. It looks like that. Okay, let's go ahead and fold our card based on that score line. I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back of this, on the back of my truck, on the back of my trailer, and on the back of my greeting here. What did I do with my dimensionals? You guys see, I always set them off to the side and then I bury them with everything else. Okay, one, I like to put 5, one in the center so the center doesn't sag, and then 2, a couple on my greeting here, 1 on my little trailer, and then we'll do 3 on the truck. And now it doesn't matter where you place them because we're not going to slip anything. We've already got it print or stamped on our card. There we go. And then I'm going to put this right here centered on the front. And then we'll take, I think I'm going to put my trailer on first. Not that it matters. Set my trailer right. Whoop, I'm going to move him back a little bit. He's a little bit, should fit just right with that tree. There we go. And now put my little truck on there. So he has the presents on the back. He's going, oops, he's got a little low. I'm going to raise him up a little bit so it looks like my truck tires and my trailer tires are all going in a straight line, just like that. And then put my little greeting right there at the top. Now with the little bling here, I'm going to tell you, I put it on the Christmas tree in the back. And I asked the club members today, and I think this is a funny story. I said, if we're picking up our Christmas tree, would it already have the ornaments on there? And they laughed and said, well, it depends if you send your Christmas cards out on time. Perhaps they're taking the tree to the dump. And you got your Christmas cards out late, and then the ornaments would still be on it. Anyway, I thought that was pretty funny. Jamie's cracking us up there at club today. Okay, we'll set that down. And then the last one, I'm going to just take and put it right here. And looky, just like that. There you go. One more time along this crease line with my bone folder, and now it lays flat. So originally today, I didn't have anything on the inside, and we talked about it at club. And let me see if I can find the other card, and I'll show you the 2 things that we did to the inside of our card today. So one of them is like this with a little bit of masking. If you mask off the bottom of the tree and you mask off the top of the tree, so we masked off the bottom of this tree and we masked off the top of this tree. This was Raina's discovery. You could do a little tree like that on the inside. That looks really cute. Or then Jody came up with the idea that you stamp, whoops, here it is, that you stamp that like that, and you just stamp those trees right there at an angle and fill in with the other tree, and it looks pretty good that way too. So that's just an idea of something you could do on the inside of your card. Alrighty, that's what I have for you today. Thanks for watching. I'm going to go ahead and finish up the inside of my card. If you have any questions, be sure and let me know. The link to my blog with all the supplies and the measurements will be in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you back next month at club, and we'll be using the same Trucking Along stamp set. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.